not
What is
hear
that?
that Drew's killing zombies? I told him to turn it down.
Put it on mute.
Drew, turn the TV down.
Hey, it's a spooky show, but I don't need to hear you killing zombies.
Anyways, guys, welcome to our podcast.
Yes.
We are Cults, Crimes, and Spirits.
I'm Nina.
And I'm Andrea. And it's almost
And
fucking
we're
spooky.
here.
It's spooky season apparently now.
Yes.
July 5th.
Yes. July 5th is the official, unofficial? I don't know. Start of spooky season.
But yes, Bristol, Virginia. What a place. Or Bristol, Tennessee. Depends on...
Yeah.
That is so weird.
What?
I wonder if there's another place like that in the United States where it's like called the same name but a different state.
Probably. This week we are sharing some fun, spooky tales, all taking place in and around the Bristol, Virginia, Tennessee area. And if you have no idea what we're talking about when we say Bristol, because there's like a Bristol, UK too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, but a lot of people do know the Bristol Motor Speedway. So
yeah,
that helps.
If you're a race fan,
yeah, that helps.
If you've ever seen the Geico commercial that came out like 7-8 years ago, where the little gecko guy is like on State Street in Bristol, and he's like, "I'm in Tennessee. I'm in Virginia. I'm in Tennessee."
Yep, I remember that because I was like, "Wow, shout out! I know where that is. Every Friday we did that."
Yeah.
Because
we'd be down there.
Was Ryan's in Tennessee, Bristol?
I think it was on the Virginia side, actually.
But the mall.
But I don't know.
Is the mall in Virginia?
Yes, because the casino's in Virginia. Right? Pretty sure, yeah. Yeah, it's on the Virginia side.
So the Tennessee side is what?
The Bristol Motor Speedway is on the Tennessee side.
Okay. So everything that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It's because like when I think of Bristol, I just think of Bristol. I don't differentiate it between. I know when I'm in Tennessee though, because you have to pay higher sales taxes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
they get you there.
So I realize when it hits me on that, but to me, Bristol is just Bristol. It's a great city. It's really cool to have grown up like really close to it. We like you said, we would go there every freaking Friday with our grandmas.
Yes, every Friday.
Thrift stores, Ryan's. Also,
Ryan's.
What happened to Ryan's? Like,
I don't know. I think they went out of business, but I don't know how.
I think there's still one in Pigeon Forge. I think there's still one in Pigeon Forge that's open.
No way, because those
don't quote me on
biscuits,
it,
those rolls, not biscuits, those rolls in that ranch, their mac and cheese, their mashed potatoes and
everything.
gravy.
The ice cream, the little like soft serve machine. Ha ha ha. Good times. Anyway,
it's like a very nicer Golden Corral.
Yeah.
It's so good. It was worth it. I miss them. R.I.P. Ryan's. Well, another cool thing about Bristol is now they host is it called Rhythm and Roots Festival?
Oh yeah, Rhythm and Roots.
Like the country music. Yeah.
It's huge.
So also, if you're a country music lover, you would probably know about Bristol because there's like the Johnny Cash and the museum.
Yes.
And
speaking of, there is a birthplace of country music museum in Bristol, and it's really cool. So in 1998, Bristol was officially designated by the United States Congress as the birthplace of country music because in the summer of 1927, this dude named Ralph Peer, who was a record producer for the Victor Talking Machine Company, conducted some pretty important recording sessions where, according to the Birthplace of Country Music Museum, 19 performers or groups of performers recorded 76 songs. Those sessions, the now famous Bristol sessions, are known as the Big Bang of modern country and were called by Johnny Cash the most important event in the history of country music. Happened in Bristol, baby.
That's pretty dang cool.
Yeah. The famous sessions featured the recordings of both Jimmie Rodgers and the Carter family. Jimmie Rodgers is now known as the father of country music and was the very first person inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. And the Carter family, featuring AP, Sarah, and Maybelle Carter, are known as the first family of country music, and were also inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Johnny Cash's wife, June Carter, was a part of this very famous family, and Maybelle Carter was her mom. So
That's
freaking
pretty cool.
Plus, so this isn't actually in Bristol, but it's about 35 minutes from Bristol is where the Carter family fold is. And it's where Johnny Cash actually performed his very last performance ever.
That's pretty cool.
35 minutes from Bristol. Yeah. They still have a live events. There's a venue there, and it's the homestead where they grew up. There's the cabin where AP was born. They have like a museum. They have like a venue for live performances. And I think they're celebrating 50 years this year of being open. So
that's pretty cool.
Pretty freaking cool. Yeah.
50 years. So, let's go.
Right.
We love
right
Johnny
Cash. Bristol. We do. He's the man in black, and so is our grandpa.
Yes. So was our grandpa. Yeah. We miss him. We love him
so much.
I did meet Carlene Carter in Nashville, and I got to talk to her.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. And I think she mentioned the Fold and told me to go check it out. So
yeah, she said to go there. Some of
it'd
our
be really
other
cool
family
if
members,
we could go like this year since it's their 50th.
I want to go. I've never been, and I think that's crazy that I live so close to Bristol and I've never been.
I think that's a little crazy too. But
I know. I'm like, but our family, we have several family members that go there all the time, and they'll go there, they'll go dance, and they get up and like get into it. So they've told me tons of stories about it, and I don't know why I haven't been yet. It's on my list of things to do, but 35 minutes from Bristol. So if you're a country music fan, you should know Bristol.
You should. If not, you should check it out.
Yeah. It's a pretty happening place. It's also full of ghosts.
So, speaking of ghosts, and, the whole spooky season, and, Halloween coming, what movies do you think you're most excited? Because there's a lot that are about to drop.
There's a lot, yes. So obviously, first and foremost, September 6th, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
Michael Keaton. Love him.
I love Tim Burton too.
Me too.
And one of my favorite quotes from Tim Burton is, "Every day is Halloween, isn't it? For some of us."
For you, it is. That's how I describe you to
For
people.
me, it is.
I'm like, so me and my cousin have a podcast, and most people that I'm talking to know me and my interests, and I'm like, she's Halloween in a person. Every day.
It's my whole personality.
It's not every just during certain months. It's every day.
No, I'm spooky all year.
She decorates her house for Halloween every day. So she is Halloween walking. That's what she is.
I love Halloween. And I'm most looking forward to seeing Beetlejuice for sure. But I'm also really excited about the Terrifier that's coming out.
That's one that I cannot wait for. Oh my gosh. Because, I didn't know anything about the Terrifier until last year when I watched the first one and the second one by my fucking self. Anxiety ridden is the words I would use.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Because they're not like paranormal, but it's like...
no, well, a little paranormal.
A little bit. A little.
Yeah.
A smudge. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like, jump scare and... gore. Yeah.
And gore. I don't know. I love those movies. They're Art the Clown is just the best character ever. Speaking of, Spirit Halloween's coming out with a whole
I already saw it.
Art the Clown animatronic.
I got an email. I clicked it. I opened it. I opened my phone Saturday morning. And I clicked Safari, and that was the first thing that popped up. It was the Art the Clown animatronic. Yes. And I was like, I must have been looking at it. being like,
I
how
want
much
it.
is this? Maybe
it's
I
like
could get
200
this.
and something. Yeah,
But it's worth it.
It's worth it. And I have.
It looks so good.
The Shorty the Clown from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So I need Art the Clown.
Both clowns. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
So I know this one. Clowns. This movie's already out, but I really want to see Maxine because I know me and you watched Pearl together, but I fell asleep.
It looks so good. Yeah.
So I rewatched Pearl the other day and I'm like, all right.
Good.
I'm ready for Maxine. I got X and Pearl under my belt. Let's go. So I really want to see that one.
Super excited about that. I'm also,
but the Terrifier is really up there. Like, I cannot wait for that.
I'm also on the fence about The Crow. Have you seen the previews for the new The Crow?
I think I might have seen a trailer like a month or two ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I know the guy who's playing Brandon Lee. I saw the guy. Yeah.
It's Bill Skarsgård that played Pennywise in It.
Oh, those are great movies. Those are scary.
Yeah, he's a great actor, and that's why I'm like, I am excited about it, but I don't know the way that. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I feel on the fence about it when I saw the preview. Because I'm such a fan of the original, and I'm just I'm scared.
I hope they do it justice. That's all I can say. Yeah, just please do it justice.
That's what I'm thinking. But also, I think Bill Skarsgård is also in the new Nosferatu film. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he's in it. It doesn't come out until Christmas. I don't know much about that,
but I would like to see that. I don't know the details.
The original, the original's in silent, 1922 is when it came out, I think. So you have something else to look forward to after Halloween, which is Nosferatu coming out on Christmas.
Yeah, because I thought the Terrifier would drop because, it's Christmas themed. If you didn't know, you know now. But it is Christmas themed, so a lot of people were like, ooh, is it going to be like a Christmas horror drop? Yeah. Or like a spooky October season?
It's going to be the new Nightmare Before Christmas.
Which we all know you love, and I love too, but...
Yes. It can double as a Halloween and Christmas movie. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm super excited about those. Those are my main ones that are upcoming that I want to see. I also can't wait for Spirit Halloween to open because I'm really considering buying the.
Oh, you're gonna run! You're gonna run there and buy that.
There's also at Spirit Halloween they've had this. It's not like it didn't just come out this year, but the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt. I want that too. He's like $400, I think. I grew up watching the Crypt Keeper. I think that's part of why I am the way that I am.
Probably.
That's the person that used to tell me bedtime stories.
Just a smudge.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But speaking of spooky bedtime stories. Stories.
But yes, that's a good segue into our episode because it's spooky tales from the country.
Let's go.
All right.
Yeehaw.
So we're going to start off with the tale of the... Did you say yeehaw?
Yeah.
Because you said, let's go.
You said, all right, tales from the country. And I said,
tales from the country.
Let's go. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. All right.
Did you do this? Because I wanted to do that and I didn't.
Woo!
Yeehaw! Let's rope in our first ghost.
Oh, yeah. We're going to start with the very first ghost ever reportedly being seen in Bristol.
That's a big deal.
Big deal.
Huge.
All right. So, a little history. Bristol was founded around 1852. Okay?
Long time ago.
The first reported ghost, yes, long ass time ago.
Long time ago.
The first reported ghost was seen a couple of years later in 1954.
That's a lot of years later.
Oh, shit. In 1854. Sorry.
I was about to say,
Just
that's
not
a
used to
lot
saying
of years.
18.
I'm like, that's a lot of years later. That's a long time before a ghost was even seen. Damn.
Alcohol.
Same, girl.
Oh, man.
I'm off the goose and the espresso. I'm all over the place. I'm just here to help guide us.
God is
We're flowing.
You're God and lots. Yeah.
I think that's where my name came from. It's one of those soap operas. Anyways, back to this ghost.
Okay, yes. So Bristol was founded around 1852, and the reported first ghost was seen a couple of years later in 1854, not 1954.
Okay, yeah, that's a couple years. That's 2. Yeah.
Yes. A man by the name of John H. Moore and his wife purchased a piece of land on the Bristol, Virginia side. He built a store. It was actually the third store to ever operate in the Bristol area. And he also lived at the store, which a lot of people did back then. They'd either live like in the back of the store or like above the store.
Yeah, I learned that from The Sopranos.
Yeah. And we talked about it in, I think, the Axemen of New Orleans.
A lot of the
Jazzmen of New Orleans. Yeah.
Axemen.
Yeah, alcohol is hitting right now. I couldn't even think of the name. But yes, because there was a bunch of people there that had like stores and they lived at them.
Yeah.
But anyways, they lived at the store, and the Moores eventually decided to hire this local water witch to help them find the perfect spot to dig a well on the property. Have you ever heard of a water witch?
No, but I'm assuming it's a scammer that was like, I can feel on the earth and tell you the best spot to dig your well.
Well, I mean, maybe it could be a scam, but you know those like dowsing rods that they used and sometimes in paranormal stuff?
Yeah. I've seen those.
Well, it actually does. It's supposed to cross when there's water, like at water. So, like,
so did they have those back then?
I think so. So if they did, then they probably just used that, and they were actually able.
And they just called themselves a witch.
Yeah, water witch, because they were like probably, science. They were probably spot on every time because like that's what the dowsing rods are like supposed to do, is like cross at water or something. Anyway, this water witch like showed them like where they should dig, and so they decided to mark the spot of this new well that they were going to dig with, like, and they put like a stake in it. They didn't start digging like right away. They just marked it off and went about their day. So near the back of the property there was also this like smokehouse type place, and they would keep like bacon and like different foods and stuff out there, like
hang their meats.
I don't know. Yeah, like their meats and stuff. And so one morning, Mrs. Moore was like on her way out to this smokehouse, and she was going to get some food or something, and she like stopped dead in her tracks and saw this like Native American warrior like standing next to the smokehouse.
That's a little strange.
Yeah, so he reportedly held a tomahawk in one hand, and with his other hand he was pointing to the stake in the ground. Are you thinking of the Braves?
Yeah, I am.
The Atlanta Braves. You joined the tomahawk thing. But he had a tomahawk in one hand, and then he was reportedly pointing at the stake with his other hand, and he was shaking his head no.
Okay. So don't dig there. Don't do it.
That's what Mrs. Moore thought. Like, okay, maybe we shouldn't dig there. But anyway, spooked her because like he like
that's weird.
Disappeared.
Vanished.
Yeah, vanished.
Thin air. Poof.
And so she takes off, running back to the house. She tells her husband what happened. She tells him, I don't think we should dig there. I think it's a bad omen. Like, let's not do it. And her husband's like, oh, that's a load of hoopla, you know, like we're gonna dig there anyway. Like, you know, he probably just thought his wife was like crazy or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They all did back then. So I mean, I think they all do now too. Some of them. I don't know.
You could literally commit your wife for like the stupidest things back then. The digging ended up commencing because Mr. Moore was
husband said
not
so.
listening to his wife. Yeah. And when they were about 6 feet down digging the well, what did they find? The remains of a very tall man that was believed to be a Native American grave.
Ooh, they fucked up. You don't mess with the Native American burials.
Yeah, and I think that's why he was trying to tell them, like, please don't mess with my grave, because maybe it affects them in the afterlife. I don't know. I've never been a ghost.
None of us know, yeah.
But after they found the remains, Mr. Moore was like, oh, okay. Maybe we shouldn't have dug the well. Maybe I should have listened to my wife. So he quickly has the hole filled in, and they don't dig anymore in that spot. And the Native American was never seen again.
But you kind of already fucked up a little bit.
I know. I'm like, hopefully they didn't mess with anything, and it didn't really like mess up his afterlife. I don't know.
The universe or the energy could sense that the guy was like, oh shit, we fucked up. Put dirt back. Put the shit back. We're not doing this. We're gonna go somewhere else. No. And maybe they were like, okay, no harm done. You didn't realize the pre-warning. Got it.
Yeah. And even though his wife tried to tell him. But anyways, that is supposedly the story of the first ghost of Bristol. It was a Native American warrior, and I'm guessing he's still there. In that area, because they didn't actually dig up his body or like move his body or anything. They put everything back. So that was interesting.
That's very interesting. I had no idea about the first ghost in Bristol.
Now I'm kind of wondering though, with all the developments over the years and how far the city has come up, like, if
it's
his grave ended
compared to then. Booming.
Yeah, booming. I'm wondering if anyone else tampered with it at a later date, but
they could have. But hopefully if they saw remains, they did the same thing, like, oh shit, cover it back up.
Yeah. All right. So I picked this next story because it also has ties to Georgia and the Virginia, Tennessee, Bristol area. Anyways, in Bristol, there's this historic cemetery called the East Hill Cemetery. Okay? And it began with the burial of a 5-year-old named Nellie Gaines in 1857. So it's been around for a long time as well, almost as long as Bristol's been a thing.
Yeah, a city. Yeah.
In the cemetery, there's a whole section dedicated to like soldiers from like the Civil War. Keep all that in mind. So now there is a soldier. He was a young boy from Lowndes County, Lowndes County, Georgia. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
I looked it up, and it's like almost 4 hours away from where you live. So
yeah, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I hadn't either, and so I don't know if I'm saying it right. So sorry if I'm butchering that, but he was a young boy from Lowndes County, Georgia, and this is his story, kind of.
All right.
His tragic
story. Give us his backstory.
So this boy, they estimate he was about 15 years old. So he wasn't quite old enough to join the Confederate forces, but he snuck off and did it anyway. And I do not know if his parents knew, like, that he just, like, left and up and joined the army or what that deal was.
What the hell?
Yeah. But he snuck off and joined anyway. I guess he lied about his age. But eventually, the Confederate Army found out how old he was. And
at
that point, they were already too far away to turn back and like take him home. They couldn't. It's the 1800s. They couldn't just put him on a train or a plane and send him home.
Or so just like, abandon this kid. You can't just be like, well, you're not old enough. Fuck you. Bye.
Yeah. Find your way back home, because they were hundreds of miles away at this point. So they let him stay, but they wouldn't let him.
He got away with it.
He not the way his story really ends, but they let him stay, and they made him a drummer boy so that he could kind of be like the hype man for the army.
Yeah. Beating them drums instead of shooting people.
Yeah. Beating them drums instead of shooting them guns.
Hey, we need to make a rap song.
We're full of songs today. It's purely the alcohol. But he became the drummer boy, and he was like beloved by his like troupe that he was with, and so things were going okay.
Little drummer boy, ba-dum-ba-bum-bum.
Things were going good, and the drummer boy was traveling with this troupe for a few months, and eventually he ended up getting sick.
Oh no! Because boy's sick.
Diseases were running rampant back then. It was the 1800s. So yeah, I don't know exactly what he had, but take your pick. There was all kinds. So he ended up getting sick. He was very, very bad off. And he ended up getting taken to a local Confederate hospital on the Bristol, Tennessee side.
Okay.
And across the street from this Confederate hospital, there lived a family, the Anderson family. And Mrs. Anderson, she often went to this hospital and like visited the sick. And she, when she heard about the little boy, I mean, not little, I mean, he's like a teenager, but when she heard about the boy and his condition, she went to go visit him. He was really bad off. Like, he was very feverish, and he didn't even realize that Mrs. Anderson wasn't his mom. He thought that Mrs. Anderson was his mom. Oh, and he was like,
he's tripping.
Like, he was so happy to see her because he thought it was his mom. Yeah. And so he begged Mrs. Anderson to take him home. So Mrs. Anderson, having a big heart, decided she wanted to take him over to her house. Even though it wasn't his house and she wasn't his mom, she wanted to care for him for whatever time he had left.
Yeah, she wanted to be the motherly figure that he thought she was. Yeah.
And I think she hoped that he would get better, but his condition was pretty bad off. She consulted with the hospital, and they decided to let her take the boy to her home. They were probably like, heck yeah, free up a bed because, they were probably overwhelmed. Yeah.
With everything going on. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they didn't really have a lot of help. So like her, Mrs. Anderson and the superintendent of the hospital were like the ones that carried the boy over there on like a stretcher. Like, she helped carry him over to her house. And then she got a hospital bed set up in like the family dining room area and had the boy placed in the bed, and she began caring for him at her home. Soon after the boy was moved to the Anderson home, he slipped into a coma and eventually died.
Oh no, maybe she shouldn't have taken him from the hospital.
No, I think he was probably going to pass away anyway.
Yeah, like it was his fate. It was going to happen.
Yeah. The next day, the boy was buried at the East Hill Cemetery in the section for the soldiers there. Mrs. Anderson purchased a nice casket for the boy out of her own money, and her own father, Reverend James King, performed a nice graveside service for the boy.
Dang, she must have been really moved by him.
Right?
She wanted to bring him home. She gave him a casket, a service, like...
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah. It's really heartwarming. Yeah. Because, I mean, there probably wasn't a lot of, like, 15-year-olds in there, like, dying with the soldiers because they weren't supposed to be. Like, yeah.
He lied.
So, she probably really felt for him. So
she was like, he's just a child.
Yeah. And at his funeral was Bristol's first lawyer, a man named Gideon Burkhart. He, for some reason, attended the boy's funeral, and then he went on his way to visit some relatives nearby, and I guess by horseback. And
yeah, that's probably all he had.
Yeah. When he left his relatives, it was like already dark, right? So he was on his horse. Yeah, he's getting up. And he had to pass the he had to go past the cemetery at night.
Nope.
And
I'm good. I'm taking a different route.
He ended up hearing this like drum beat when he approached the cemetery. And he was a
Little
brave
drummer
dude.
boy, ba-dum.
Yeah. He decided to get off of his horse and like go into the cemetery and like investigate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as he went on into the cemetery, he realized the sound was coming from that boy's grave. That's when he realized, okay, I'm gonna go. This is unexplainable. I'm getting out.
I'm done. Yeah.
I'm done.
I figured out the mystery, and I don't want to be a part of it.
Exactly. He gets on his horse and he gets the heck out of there, and he keeps hearing the drum like until he's like far enough away. He keeps hearing it, and
that's insane.
So that was unexplainable. Several years later, in about 1905, there was an annual memorial service being held in the cemetery. The mayor at the time, Henry C. Wood, was delivering a speech during the service, and he knew the story of the drummer boy. And most of the people in the crowd did too. And while he was delivering a speech, he started to hear like a faint drum beat, and the beat grew louder and louder. A lot of the people in the crowd got freaked out and started leaving because they knew the story, and they were like, that's weird. I'm not into it. And,
I would have left. I would have left. You would have stayed. I would have left.
I would have stayed. Yeah. So the mayor ended up staying with the few people that were left, and they just listened in awe because they knew it was the drummer boy somehow from beyond. And
they knew it was paranormal. They were like, we should stay. We should just listen.
Yeah.
Enjoy this.
They heard his
drum
beat. Yeah. Another thing, I think the mayor was talking about the drummer boy in his speech. So it's kind of interesting that he started playing his drums because like
he brought it up and he was like, all right, I'm here.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. Thanks for talking about me. Yeah. So reportedly, the drum beat is still occasionally heard to this day. That's something, if you're ever near East Hill Cemetery in Bristol.
I'm surprised you haven't gone.
Maybe listen. I'm planning on going. I haven't been yet, but I'm planning on going. But if you're ever in the area, stop
Let us
by
know
and
how
see
the
if you hear the drummer boy.
Let us know.
On to story number 3.
Number 3, let's go.
There's a railroad that runs through Bristol.
Yes,
and
I've seen it.
Back in the day, there was apparently a lot of hobos who would hang out there and hop trains.
I mean, why not? You could go anywhere.
Yeah, the railroad was probably a pretty cool place. I mean, pretty cool in the fact that it could take you places. It's probably not a cool place to hang out.
Yeah. Cool in the sense of travel.
Yeah, because they didn't have planes. So it's like if you wanted to go somewhere, it's like the world of possibilities. Like, get on a train.
Just get off where you want. Figure it out.
And if you hop the train, you don't have to pay for it because you're not really supposed to be on it.
It's free, yeah.
So, free travel. Yes. So, there was a lot of hobos that would hang out and like hop on trains. And there was also like a bunch of small cottage-like houses on what is now known as Martin Luther King Boulevard. And they like faced the railroad. The hobos would go to these little houses because they were right there at the railroad. They would go to these houses a lot and like beg for stuff like food, clothes, whatever anybody could spare on their like journey, you know. And in one of the homes lived a young widow and her children. So one day, the young widow was home and she heard a knock at the door. So she went to answer it, and she found a man dressed pretty poorly, other than this like nice ass white t-shirt that he had, or white. It wasn't a t-shirt. It was like a nice dress shirt. And she knew by the looks of him everywhere else that he probably had got that shirt from another house while he was begging for stuff.
That wasn't his shirt.
And it wasn't his shirt. Didn't fit the rest of him, right? So, but she noticed this like white shirt, a really clean white shirt. And he asked her, you know, hey, do you have any food? I'm really hungry. And she was like, no, sorry, I really don't. Like, she felt really bad, but she had her kids to feed. She was a widow, you know, times were hard. So she didn't have any food to spare. So she had to turn him away. So
makes sense.
He went on his way. The next morning, there was another knock at the widow's door.
I'd be like, stop knocking. Leave me alone.
Yeah, well, when she answered the door this time, she got quite the surprise. Okay? So it was the same hobo, right? But his nice white shirts was now soaked in blood.
How about close the door, lock it?
And his head was also no longer attached. Yeah, he was holding his head.
Oh.
And
how'd he get there? What?
He asked from his head that he was holding if she had any food because he was so hungry.
Is this real?
It's a real story, yeah. Okay, so then the widow, she faints because she's like, what am I looking at here? What is happening?
I'm about to. What?
So she passes out. When she wakes back up, the hobo's not there. She freaks out. She's like, what the hell just happened? She goes, she grabs her kids, and she takes off to her parents' house nearby. Okay, so she's trying to process what the heck just happened. She gets over to her parents' house.
I am
her
too.
Parents so when she gets to her parents' house, they tell her that the night before there was an accident at the rail yard. The same hobo that she had saw had apparently tried to jump onto a moving train and fell and was thrown under the wheels of the train and got his head cut off. Yeah.
Ew. Oh, I was all like, hee haha, and then I was like,
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
Gross.
Yeah. She realized she had just seen a ghost, basically. And she was super freaked out.
Holding his head.
Yeah, holding his head and still talking.
That's
still
fucked
hungry.
Up. Still hungry.
In the afterlife.
Always hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically when she got to her parents' house, she realized that she forgot to grab the kids like pajamas that were like warm because her parents' house was kind of drafty and cold, and they were going to need their warm clothes if they were going to stay there overnight. So she has her dad like go back to her house to get the clothes for the kids. She's like, I ain't going by myself. So he goes along with her, probably thinking she didn't see what she actually saw.
Nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
She crazy.
Yeah. They make it back to her house. They get the kids' clothes. They gather them up. And then they're walking back to the parents' house. And just as they made it to Columbia Street, there's like this railroad underpass there. And they heard this like moaning behind them. And
Weird.
A voice saying, I'm so hungry.
Ew, go away. At this point, go.
Yeah, so the widow and her father turn around and they see the headless hobo again, holding his head. Yeah. And so they take off running. The hobo's like right behind them. They take off running. And the widow, needless to say, never went back to her house again. She actually ended up meeting this other guy. He had actually been trying to get her to marry him for a while before this even happened. And then after this happened, I guess she like agreed, like, okay, I will marry you if you just, I can come live with you.
Yeah, I don't want to live where I live anymore. No.
Yeah, so apparently that's how she ended up meeting her next husband, or marrying her next husband. She'd already met him. But that's how he kind of sealed the deal.
All right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he kind of helped play matchmaker a little bit for them. So that's not the last of the headless hobo. He was seen again the following spring after his death. These two boys were fishing down by Beaver Creek, which is extremely close to the Columbia underpass where the widow and her dad last seen the hobo. So they're fishing, right? They're having a good old spring day.
Just fishing.
Just just minding their own business. And they hear this voice behind them say, like, I'm so hungry. And
oh my
they
gosh,
turn around,
of course you are.
And they see this headless hobo, and they drop their fishing poles and everything and just leave everything and just run and get the heck out of there. They hightail it out of there.
Me too. Bye. I'm gone.
Yeah. Peace. Reportedly, the headless hobo showed up again one fall morning when he knocked on the poor widow's former home.
Of course.
She was no longer there. She's married to that other guy.
But
gone.
He remembers. He's like, oh,
but
I know this home. Knock, knock.
Yeah. Because it was probably the last home he knocked on before his accident. And so obviously there was a new family living there, and they saw him, and needless to say, they moved out because of this headless hobo.
Bye-bye. We're gone.
Bye. Pretty crazy. He reportedly has still been seen on occasion over the years.
Of
so
course.
if you're
he's
in the area,
never gonna leave.
Yeah,
he's stuck.
Exercise caution.
I think he's stuck.
I don't know. And the funny part is, I used to work in that area, and I would be driving at night, and I didn't know this story until recently. So I never encountered the headless hobo, but
that's crazy.
It's a wonder. Yeah.
Have you ever wondered where to get the ghost hunting equipment that you see on TV? Well, the Ghost Stops got you covered.
Their equipment has been featured on popular shows such as Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, Ghost Brothers, Kindred Spirits, and several others.
They also have the super cool and multifunctional Ovulus, REM pods, spirit boxes, and so much more.
We love the Ghost Stop because they're investigators creating and building equipment for investigators. Plus, they're now based in our good old home state of Virginia.
Their quality, customer service, and fast shipping is unbeatable.
So if you want reliable equipment for your investigations, the Ghost Stop's got it. Just click the link in the description below and start shopping. Okay, so on to the very last story of the episode. This next story also has something to do. It's the last story, and it also has something to do with the Bristol Railroad.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm down. Let's go.
It's also probably the most bizarre ghost of Bristol. Okay? And I'm going to let you read it. But it takes place at the Bristol train station, which me and Drew actually went there to see about having our wedding there. But it was a little too pricey. But I've been inside of it. It's beautiful there. When I read this story, I was loving it. I was like, this is so fun. It's such a weird story, but I'll let you read it. So it's the first time you're hearing it.
Yes. All right. Here we go, guys. Okay. So this occurred about 1903 when a mother and her young son were waiting at the train station for a train that was bringing her husband home. The boy noticed something coming down the train. A cat, he yelled. Then he began to run to meet the cat. He loved cats. So do I. And he could not wait to pet it. His mother saw what he thought was a cat, and she thought, hey, that could be a cat as well. When the boy reached the cat, he realized that's not a cat at all. Nope. The boy began running back towards the mother, shouting, it's not a cat, it's a foot, it's a foot, it's not a cat. His mom ran to see what the boy was talking about. How could it be a foot? But sure enough, it was a ghostly white foot with a bit of blood at the top. No longer attached to the body, just skipping and hopping down the railroad tracks. The mother grabbed her son, and they fled fast as fuck from the station.
So the woman was afraid to tell her story for a long time until she realized that other people were coming forward sharing the same experience. Like they were saying like they had the same experience. Like they saw a ghost foot.
That's weird.
Hopping down the railroad trail.
That's so weird.
Railroad tracks. Whatever I just
Same
said.
shit. Same shit.
Yeah. So the foot was believed to be that of a foot from a male worker who worked in the rail yard and had his foot like cut off in like an accident like months before. Yeah, somehow.
So, no, thank you. Gross.
And this is another weird part of the story. So apparently, I guess when his foot was cut off, they didn't know what to do with it, so they buried it in the cemetery, the East Hill Cemetery, where the drummer boy is. They're just like, well, what do you do with it? I mean, what do you do with a foot? I don't know.
We're gonna bury it in the ground. Yeah. Here lays.
So they buried it.
Sir Blank and Blank's foot.
And the guy, he didn't die right away, so he was still alive. But his foot was in the cemetery.
I hope so they attached it when he died, like reattached the foot.
I don't think they did. A local psychic reportedly said that the ghost's foot would not rest until the man that the foot came from died.
You gotta die.
So it's just hopping
your
around.
Foot will hop
for the
around
owner.
Forever. Yeah. Like, where's my leg?
So, the man who the foot came from did eventually die and was buried in East Hill Cemetery near the foot, but they didn't attach it. Yeah. He was buried near his foot.
Oh my god. That's crazy in itself. There's a foot buried somewhere. Just a foot.
Yeah. And the ghost foot has never been seen again, supposedly, since that guy died. So there's that.
I just sneezed into my cup. That was fun.
Nice.
All right. Weird ghost foot hopping around until the man died and then it stopped. Weird.
But I mean, the psychic was right, I guess.
She was.
So if you've enjoyed this episode and these spooky little tales from the Twin Cities, which is Bristol, they're all from this book called The Ghost of Bristol,
nice.
Haunting Tales from the Twin Cities. Yeah. So the author, V.N. Bud Phillips, he was like a local historian. He moved to the area in like 1953. He was a social worker and he met a lot of people in the community and they shared these stories with him. And so he kind of compiled them all together. And unfortunately, like I wanted to like look him up because I love this book so much, and I think it's cool that he was like local to the area. And he unfortunately passed away a few years ago.
Bummer.
So, but I wanted to share, there's many, many more stories. This was just 4 stories. There's many more stories in this book. And some of these stories that we share go into more detail. So if you would like to buy a copy, you can buy it on Amazon. It's also, if you're local, it's in local bookstores here. So I'll put a link in the description below if you would like to purchase it. So it's not an affiliate link, so we're not earning a commission. I just wanted to share. I think it's a great book.
She loves
I collect spooky books. Yeah. And this is one of my favorites. So thank you, Bud Phillips, for this amazing collection of tales.
Thank you, Bud.
Yeah, check it out. There's a lot of stories in here from East Hill Cemetery that have to do with East Hill Cemetery. There's a guy that interrupts his own funeral. A woman who thinks she's being chased by a dead man.
That's pretty crazy.
All kinds of fun stuff.
What?
Yeah, it's Bristol is very fun little area.
Well, you know what? I think we did the damn thing. We did it.
I think we did. Yes, we did it. Stay spooky.
Stay spooky.